Imagine standing at the edge of a medieval village at dawn. Behind you is safety, a place where people know your name, where the roads are familiar, and where help is close if something goes wrong. Ahead of you lies the road, a narrow strip of mud disappearing into dark forest, leading to towns you've never seen and dangers you can't predict. Today, travel feels ordinary. You board a train, drive a highway, or book a flight across the world. But in the Middle Ages, leaving your village could be one of the most dangerous decisions you would ever make. For many people, the road was more deadly than the battlefield itself, because at least in war, you rarely faced danger alone. On the road, you often did. Medieval Europe had no reliable road system like we imagine today. Most routes were nothing more than dirt paths carved by carts and footsteps over generations. When it rained, and it often did, these roads turned into deep, sucking mud. Wagons got trapped, horses collapsed, travelers were forced to abandon supplies just to keep moving. A journey that should take 2 days could stretch into a week, and every extra day meant more exposure, more hunger, and more risk. Because the longer you stayed on the road, the more likely something would go wrong. One of the greatest dangers was something simple: other people. Bandits thrived across medieval trade routes. Small groups of armed thieves hid in forests, hills, or ruined structures, waiting for travelers to pass. They didn't need large armies or elaborate plans. A lone merchant, a pilgrim, or even a small family group was enough. Ambushes were fast and brutal. A rope across the path, an arrow from the trees, a knife at your throat before you could shout. And once they attacked, there was rarely anyone nearby to help. There were no patrol cars, no emergency services, no reliable law enforcement beyond major towns. If bandits took your money, your food, or your horse, you might not survive long enough to reach the next village. But even if you never encountered criminals, the road itself could kill you. Bridges were often old, unstable, or poorly maintained. Wood rotted, supports weakened, floods washed away entire crossings. Travelers had to gamble every time they crossed a river. A broken plank or collapsing support didn't just mean a fall. It meant freezing water, heavy clothing pulling you down, and no rescue team coming to save you. For many, a simple river crossing became the final moment of their journey. Then there were the forests. To modernize, forests might seem peaceful, but medieval forests were feared places, dark, dense, and unpredictable. Wild animals were a real threat. Wolves, boars, and even desperate stray dogs could attack isolated travelers. At night, visibility vanished completely. Without lanterns strong enough to light the way, a traveler could lose the path within minutes. And once lost in the forest, survival depended on remembering landmarks, finding clean water, and hoping you didn't wander in circles. Some never found their way out. Disease was another silent killer of medieval travel. Villages and towns were isolated communities. When travelers moved between them, they carried more than goods and stories. They carried illness. A simple fever caught on the road could quickly become fatal. There were no antibiotics, no hospitals nearby, and often no one willing to care for a sick stranger. If you collapsed during a journey, your companions faced a terrible choice: stay and risk dying with you, or leave you behind to save themselves. Many chose survival, which meant the road was filled not only with travelers, but with those who never finished the journey. Even reaching a town didn't guarantee safety. City gates were often closed at night or during times of disease or conflict. Guards could refuse entry to strangers, especially if they seemed poor, sick, or suspicious. That meant sleeping outside the walls, exposed to cold, rain, theft, and hunger. For travelers with little money left, though, this was often the moment things became desperate. Food shortages were common on long journeys. Bread molded, meat spoiled, supplies ran out faster than expected. And once your food was gone, survival depended on begging, foraging, or finding work along the way. Some starved before reaching their destination.
And then there were inns. In theory, they offered shelter and rest. In reality, they could be just as dangerous as the open road. Medieval inns varied wildly in quality. Some were safe and welcoming, others were dirty, overcrowded, and filled with thieves or violent guests. Travelers slept in shared rooms, often beside complete strangers. Theft during the night was common. In worse cases, travelers were drugged, robbed, or attacked while asleep. Trusting the wrong place to rest could cost you everything you had left. So why was travel sometimes considered more dangerous than war? Because war, strangely enough, had structure. Soldiers traveled in groups. They had commanders, supplies, weapons, and some form of protection. Even if battle was deadly, they weren't usually alone. Travelers, on the other hand, faced every danger with limited resources and uncertain allies. No protection, no guarantees, no backup plan if something went wrong. For merchants, pilgrims, messengers, or ordinary people trying to reach another town, every mile carried risk. Not from one great enemy, but from countless small threats that could strike at any moment. Despite all this, people still traveled. Trade demanded it, faith inspired pilgrimages across continents, messengers carried vital information between rulers, and ordinary families sometimes had no choice but to move in search of work, land, or safety. Travel was dangerous, but staying in one place forever wasn't always possible. So they packed what they could carry, said goodbye to home, and stepped onto the road, knowing they might never return. Today, we measure journeys in hours and comfort, but in the Middle Ages, a journey wasn't just a trip, it was a test of endurance, luck, and survival. Because sometimes the most dangerous battle wasn't fought with swords on a battlefield, it was fought quietly on a lonely road miles away from home.
If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more hidden stories from history. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.